Keith, Henri, thanks for taking some time today. It's been a crazy few years for you guys, building one of the top AI applications in the market with Tome, and then now going after, what I think we all believe is an even bigger opportunity with an AI CRM. Obviously, all three of us have known each other for over 10 years. Tell us a bit about your background, like how you got here, maybe starting with you, Henri.
Let's see. We met when we were at Facebook. We worked on Facebook Messenger for 3 years together. We were building a pretty interesting platform there, right? We were building a business chat. I think it was some parts bots, some parts talking to customer service agents on the other end, and then eventually like the sort of early RNN AI stuff with M, right? Where you could like kind of have M call a flower shop for you, or like
There's actually overpaid people in the Bay Area,
right
behind the scenes.
Yeah, we were really faking it to make it there. I was a designer there for a few years, and then switched to product, and then sort of worked on like core messaging for a while.
I remember we had a Zoom call where you were kind of a little bit disenfranchised with whatever you were working on at Meta at the time, and looking for something new. Maybe talk about that for a second.
I think you had wanted me to chat with Keith.
That's right.
And we were talking about like visual storytelling, and there was like a loose thesis around like what if there was a third to sort of like Notion and Airtable in the new wave of like SaaS productivity. I think I'd also just come off of like tinkering with a bunch of like ideas and wanting to get back into like prototyping and building apps. And so we sort of like started sketching. I remember drawing these like two tiles on this like sketch pad, one with an image in it and one with text in it. And was like, what if there was this really like kind of simple primitive where we could arrange them and tell any kind of story with them. We left that Zoom call, and then felt like, every time we like hung out, it felt like we could like print, years of roadmap in terms of things we wanted to build. So just felt very productive.
Yeah. And then Keith, obviously you and I worked together for Facebook Home, the assistant, and then you were head of product at Citizen. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you got here.
For the 10 or so years before this, I was just spending time trying to build productivity tools for regular people. And the first one, especially very relevant to Lightfield, I worked on this product called Graph Search at Facebook, and it doesn't exist anymore, but it was like the technology so that we could find like Seth's friends who live in New York who studied CS and speak French, and it turned out that you actually needed quite a bit of sophisticated ranking and retrieval technology to get that done. There, we sort of had the right technology, but maybe the product wasn't quite right. Like, humans don't need to run these sorts of searches every day outside of a recruiting context. You and I worked on Home, where we wanted to build this sort of proactive personal assistant. And I remember the chief product officer at Facebook saying, you can't build a personal assistant for everyone. The personal assistant is the iPhone. It's not an app, and then the iPhone uses Spotify or Calendar or Mail. The only way to do this is to make it for a specific person, which is, I think, maybe another foreshadowing of where we are. And then I worked at Instagram for a bit, learned a lot about just sort of the handshaking of strangers speaking to each other on Instagram. And that also feels like, kind of, related to doing business with people and tracking it as CRM. And then it was building this, I would call it a personal utility, which was Citizen. It was a safety app. I think that led me to working with you at Greylock.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember you knocked on my door. We're going to do a co-working session. And you're like, hey, I actually just quit my job. Great. Let's get I think we literally bought a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And it was during the pandemic. And then we kind of both had a captive audience because we were the only people in our bubble.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah. It was pretty great. And I think, reflecting on that time, sort of as Henri joined us and as Reed was showing us the early makings of GPT-3, I think we all had this almost this thesis that the way that people communicate at work is going to change. And, we weren't sure if that meant new Word, new PowerPoint, or something completely different, and I think our first thesis was, maybe it's new PowerPoint. And then throughout the journey, I think we realized it was actually going to be something completely different.
Yeah.
Just to build on that, I think we spent so much time at the beginning on the format of this like visual presentation layer. But as we got like better and better at using LLMs, we realized that the main thing that we needed to do was like calculate the right content with the available context. And then you also have the like context calculation problem, which really is super high leverage, because if you can know what people are trying to say and like suggest ways to say it, I think you ultimately save them more time.
You guys built Tome, which was an AI presentation tool that had its own unique format that was tile based, that was very easy to create, looked beautiful, cloud based, mobile optimized, and it was also deeply integrated with AI. And Tome scaled from 0 to 20 million users in the first 12 months. It was one of the number one AI applications. And then you decided to pivot. So why?
Going back to that sort of mission, we like really wanted to make like great business communication tools. And I think we found that we were sort of looking for whom we could do the best job for, right? And we ended up with a few types of personas, right? We had founders, we had salespeople that were kind of the most retained in the product, and we had a long tail of other types of users, a lot of students and that kind of thing. With founders, we found that we could like help most founders do a pretty good job with a pitch deck, but they would use it, once a quarter maybe. And that was for founders like raising all the time. And I think for salespeople, we could do, I think, a pretty good job, but we had to ingest a ton of context. And then we sort of went on this quest, right, where we like just tried to ingest context to make great sales decks. And that was pretty challenging.
Yeah, I think it was this like weird realization of, wait a minute, maybe a horizontal productivity tool isn't the right thing to build for this technology, right? Because to Henry's point, we had all of these different users. We could help you make like your first presentation, but we like couldn't help you make your second, third, fourth, 100th, because we just needed to know so much about you. We needed to know like who are you speaking to, like what do they care about, what company do you represent, what are your goals, and sort of this like never-ending context problem. And I think we came to this realization of the next generation of great companies will be everything for someone.
Right.
So what should we focus on? And we sort of had a lot of sales and marketing folks using the product because of slides. Mm-hmm. And I also think as like consumer people, I think that the idea of building, the everything product for this really large group of people, that's really important to a company is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I think, what is it, something like 30 or 40 million people use Salesforce every day. Mm-hmm. With varying degrees of proficiency. They have very complex things that they need to do, that need to get out of it. And I think like that sort of attracted me, personally. And then I think we also realized that you sort of need, I think, to do great work with LLMs, you actually need a couple of things. One, you need like all of this unstructured context, which we'll talk about plenty of, like, what did people say? What did they do? Where are they going? But you also need some structure for the model to navigate it.
Right.
Right. Or otherwise it'll just take, 25 minutes, 30 minutes to like do anything. So we were like, oh, this is actually like the perfectly shaped problem to reimagine, like, what should a CRM do?
Yeah.
Because the CRM is like just the like structured relational database. But if you have that plus the like lake, of interactions, that would be like an incredibly powerful product. It would be an incredibly powerful piece of technology that I think every company would need,
Right. So now you're building Lightfield, which is an AI CRM. So what is an AI CRM?
I think the like defining characteristic of an AI CRM is that it has the context to do the work. And do the work for you. And it's sort of it's an interesting definition because, like, if you asked 100 people, if I opened up Salesforce, would I have the context to work on this account or this deal or this opportunity? I think 95 people would say, like, no, someone filled out these fields. These fields are like sort of cryptic to me because I don't know this person. So I actually think in the pursuit of building an AI CRM so that LLMs can do work, you actually end up creating a much better product database system so that humans have enough context to do the work too.
So the first wave of kind of like AI go-to-market tools, we were seeing a lot of noise, a lot of billboards around San Francisco of like, I'm your AI SDR, or I'm your... So how do you compare what you're building at Lightfield to those kind of initial companies?
It's sort of funny. I think a lot of those companies were trying to do the work without the data. Um, and then what you end up doing is you end up with like great demos, right? Where it like sends an outbound email where it can like, pass your or like fill out your classical CRM for you. But I think when you push those things a little further, you realize, wait a minute, I need to understand this company. I need to understand the company that we sell, right? And the products we sell. Then I need to understand the relationship with the customer. Then I need to understand, like, how do we communicate? Where are we? So I think a lot of those products, they just like were missing the data and the data structure to like go the whole way. And they were trying to sell the like use cases. And I think, we all know the story. A lot of those companies got pilots at large enterprises, and, the majority of those pilots didn't work.
Right.
So we sort of took this like data structure first approach of we're going to suck in everything, we're going to index it, we're going to structure it. And then when you have that, you will be able to get it to write emails on top. You'll be able to get it to generate proposals and slides and read statements of work and and understand your transcript better. So I think we sort of took this like database first approach, and now we're starting to see the applications layer on top, and our customers sort of love the results.
So let's say like I'm a AI B2B company going through YC right now, and right now I'm tracking my customer list on Google Sheets. So why would I use Lightfield, and what is the product?
The first reason to use Lightfield is that your Google Sheet doesn't capture everything, right? You probably have a Google Sheet and a call recorder, and they like probably don't talk to each other. One of the problems with your Google Sheet and your call recorder is that your call recorder doesn't actually know anything about you, and it doesn't know anything about your customers. So that's why the output of it, the action items, the tasks, the transcript, it's always like a little naive compared to what you would know about your company. So I would say the first reason is you just get high fidelity capture, high fidelity recall. But so let's talk about what it would look like. You sign up for Lightfield, you connect your email and calendar. As soon as you connect your email and calendar, and then more if you want, like your Slack and your customer tickets, will start storing and indexing all of those customer interactions automatically. You just press a button, it happens. And on top of that, we'll sort of generate the objects that Henri spoke about on top. Then we'll start sending a video recorder to all of your customer meetings. And so right off the bat, before we even get into automation of work, you've just got an automatic CRM, one that listens to all of your customer interactions, that updates the CRM for you, that gives you a data lake that you can query for what did Greenlight ask for yesterday, or what did Ramp say that was important to them. So you've just got this great sort of working data lake that you can query with records that update. So that's sort of the base of the product. And then the cool thing is, now that you've got this base, this foundation of data, now you can get it to do more stuff. Right. So now you can get it to like create tasks, assign tasks, write emails, find you customers that meet criteria, read proposals, generate proposals. So suddenly it becomes like a real partner to you in sort of sorting your go-to-market.
Something that's pretty magical in this sort of customer segment we see a lot is that people can query, like, what did my last 100 calls really tell me, and what does this mean for my ICP, or some patterns that might be standing out. And I think we actually find that the nature of that CRM and data model in this case let you kind of pivot around, which is pretty useful as an early stage company, and really hard to do if you think about having to bake your data model before you talk to people, right? Which is kind of the status quo of traditional CRM, right? It turns out that if you've been talking to, let's say, 100 customers over the course of a few months, and then you realize that you actually care about how many go-to-market people they have, but you haven't been capturing that field, you can just kind of ask that question and retroactively fill it, right? Because you're always talking to the source of truth. So I think that's kind of a useful thing. And all of our customers, even though it's a bit of a squishy value prop, all of our customers, I think, really appreciate Lightfield for that. They sort of ask it every Friday, like, what did we learn this week?
Right.
And it sort of creates a bit of a drumbeat of like what they share with their teams about, what they're learning from their market and stuff like that.
So it seems like you're focused on these kind of this next generation of AI B2B companies. And why did you decide to kind of target this segment?
So there was this period between sort of Tome and Lightfield when we were just working with go-to-market teams, 500-person companies, 1,000-person companies. They, and the first thing that we noticed is that the data was just everywhere, sort of in the wrong form, in the wrong structure, and it was, a high latency operation to check Salesforce and then Gong and then Zendesk and then Snowflake and then pull all of that stuff together. And we thought that there was just a lot of benefit to putting it all in one place. I think if you had built your go-to-market stack 10 years ago, you probably use like this tool for sending out email sequences, this tool for reading proposals, this tool for like forecasting, this other tool for filling out the CRM, and this other tool for like, reading your transcript and pulling out insights. So you're sort of, you have workflows that are just fractured all over the place.
Yeah.
And to be honest, most of these things are like simple LLM calls now. You just need to have an agent and teach the agent about your tool and have evals, and you could build all of that stuff really quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I think for one, we see a lot of technical founders right now starting and doing sales on their own.
Right.
And then kind of approaching building a go-to-market org from first principles, which is like, what exactly do I need? I need to like find these customers that look like these 3 like design partners that I had. And then I need to like, figure out where they are, send them emails, book meetings with them, and carry them through like a really efficient process. And I think that there's a lot of like interesting like engineering thinking being put towards like building a go-to-market machine that isn't so sales craft focused and is much more like, how do I just plainly express the value of my company to the right people that need it.
Right.
And actually, I think that's like most of the people that we work with right now. They're sort of in that sort of style of go-to-market. And I think that colors how they build their team too. I think they're leaner teams. I think that they're more technical and they know how to like kind of wire up the minimum tools to have like kind of the right information flow and have it land in their source of truth, which in this case would be the CRM. And I think the way that they work is just, they'll try to get you like very quickly to a proof of value or a proof of concept, and then like convert you as a customer and build like a really like active conversation over Slack or something like that, and just like keep it going almost like you're an extension of their team. And it's just sort of a different feeling.
Can I get into the industrialization of knowledge work?
Let's hear it.
Over the past 20 years, a lot changed in tech. I think that the thing that we're seeing now, I'm just texturing what Henri was saying, is that it's not clear that like every software company is going to be like $100 billion software company where you need to have this like hyper industrialization of go-to-market. I think what's happening now is that you want fewer generalists who understand everything. And using a tool like Lightfield, you're efficient enough and you have enough visibility where you can spend time looking for customers, talking to customers, serving them, take care of them. And I think we're sort of building for that world where you sort of have like superhuman sellers that do it all.
And so do you view long-term like Lightfield actually expanding beyond the go-to-market org?
I think we really want Lightfield to just be really accessible to anybody at the company. And long-term, like I think the exciting potential for a CRM is, for it to not just be focused on like being a cockpit of managing a relationship with a specific customer, but just sort of be this like hub of customer truth for a company and like what they, what can power anything. Yeah. You can imagine using that to inform like a roadmap with a ton of detail. I mean, we do this actually now. Like we were wondering how many people have asked for like CSV export and where to rank that. And like Lightfield is pretty good at querying stuff like that. And really you just want to be talking to like your memory of customer chats.
Yeah. So it's a super interesting vision of kind of like the counterbalance to the hyper industrialization, hyper kind of siloing of the go-to-market org that impacts both the go-to-market org, but also the company as a whole in terms of just being more disconnected from the customer. And Lightfield is basically a way of bringing it back. I'm curious, are there going to be more human account executives in the future or less?
I think it's a good question. I think that there will be probably fewer go-to-market people, and the people there will do more.
Right.
They'll just be able to serve more accounts well. They'll be able to, help with sales engineering, help with customer success. They'll be able to communicate better.
Right.
So I think it'll be a story of just like slightly fewer people, but doing way more and honestly way more autonomous.
Yeah.
I think there'll just be a lot more companies, like small companies. And I think there might be a lot of, there might even be more AEs as a result of that.
Yeah.
But certainly like each team won't need as big of an army of AEs, I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you think about like your ability to address a narrow market with a ton of care and consideration, and that ability changing with AI and like how much more carefully we can do that. I think sales actually stays really important because sales is just this sort of I think in its best form, it's this matchmaking process between like needs and, solutions for those needs.
Right.
And I think more people will just be able to do that effectively.
Yeah. And we've talked around this a little bit, but why is Salesforce not the AI CRM of the future?
I think it's a good question. I think with like infinite resources, I'm sure they could build something great, but I think you're sort of mired in how do your existing customers want to work,
and how do they work?
How do they work?
It's like basically a hub and spoke model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like how do you think about the ramifications to your ecosystem, right? And I think you just end up in this interesting spot where you like probably can't change the way that Salesforce works anymore, right? You just have too many giant enterprises who rely on exactly the way that it's worked.
And what's the challenge of how it works and the architecture of how it works in terms of accomplishing what Lightfield accomplishes?
That's a good question. I think I would think about the like relational database almost like a strainer, right? Which is to say that you've got all these fields, and then you need to either fill out these fields either through a sales professional like manually filling them out or AI filling them out. But you actually miss quite a bit outside of the fields.
It's extreme compression, basically.
Yeah. So you can like augment it a little, maybe by having a customer data lake on the side, right? But I think what you really want is you want this like marriage of your fields and sort of the true voice and events of a customer together, and that just feels to me architecturally different than the way that like the traditional CRM works.
So how did you get started? Like, how did you actually, get some initial design partners?
When we were thinking about like kind of the pivot and the commitment to this new thing, once we sort of like realized what the opportunity was, we realized that we were pretty late to the opportunity. Like there are already a bunch of companies kind of swimming around in this pool, looking for the thing that we were realizing here. Because you're right that like there's only so many like tectonic shifts that could create the room for a new CRM, which is such a central thing. Like if you can be the CRM for a company and do your job, meet expectations at your job, you will retain and probably expand as the company grows. So it's a very coveted role to play. And I think to have the chance or the privilege to play that role is like something that everyone has started fighting for in the past few months. I think that's kind of where we're at. I think we've been working on it for a little under a year.
Well, I think it's a classic Silicon Valley situation where, from our perspective, it might feel crowded or there's a few other players. But if you just talk to any random customer, it turns out that no one's using like the AI CRM in the future. And so I'm very excited that you guys are available for everyone now. And I'm excited for people to give it a try. So thanks for spending some time. And this is fun as always.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks for listening to Product-Led AI. You can find more information about today's interview and the entire series on the website productledaipod.com. You can subscribe to the show on all major podcast platforms and watch the video version of this interview on YouTube. And if you want to get all the links and details delivered right to you, sign up for my LinkedIn newsletter. I'm Seth Rosenberg, and this is Product-Led AI.